All right, welcome back to Tech Talk Central. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're tackling a question that I think a lot of you out there have probably been wrestling with. If you're in the market for a high-end monitor, especially from Samsung, like how do you even begin to choose?
Yeah, there are so many options, and they all have these like crazy specs and marketing jargon. It can be so overwhelming.
Totally. So we're going to try to make it a little bit easier for you today. We're doing a deep dive into two of Samsung's top monitors that are aimed at creators and gamers. We've got the massive 49-inch Odyssey G9, that's the G95C series, and then the 43-inch Odyssey Neo G7. We've gone through all the specs, and more importantly, we've looked at what actual users are saying out there in the wild to give you the lowdown on what these monitors are really like to use.
Yeah, because specs only tell part of the story, right? Like,
Well,
how does it actually perform in real-world use? What are the quirks, the good, the bad, the ugly, or whatever it all?
So, Sarah, let's start with this Odyssey G9. It's a beast, right? 49 inches of curved screen. It's like having two QHD monitors glued together.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And that curve is a 1000R curve, which is pretty extreme. It basically wraps around your field of vision.
Hmm.
So if immersion is what you're after, this monitor is definitely aiming to deliver that.
I mean, you almost need a special desk just to accommodate this thing.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to make sure you have the space for it. And speaking of specs, it boasts a dual QHD resolution that's 5120 by 1440 pixels.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, it's essentially two QHD monitors side by side, but without that annoying bezel in the middle. And then on top of that, you've got a 240 hertz refresh rate and a 1 ms response time.
Wow. Okay, so those are
Yeah.
some serious numbers. What does that actually mean for someone who's, say, playing a fast-paced game?
Okay, so imagine this. You're in the middle of like a crazy intense firefight. With a 240 hertz refresh rate, the action on screen is going to be incredibly smooth, almost like real life. There's going to be very little lag between your inputs and what you see on the screen, which is super important for competitive gaming. And that 1 ms response time, that means that the pixels can change color almost instantly, so you're not going to get any motion blur or ghosting, even when things are moving super fast.
So it's designed for those gamers who need every millisecond, every edge they can get.
Exactly.
And what about picture quality? I mean, does it look as good as it performs?
It's supposed to. It has Display HDR 1000 certification, which means it can get super bright, especially for highlights, while also maintaining really deep blacks. And that leads to a really high contrast ratio. We're talking 1 mils and point 0.1, so details really pop, colors are vibrant, and it's just a very visually impressive experience.
So this HDR 1000, that's something we see a lot in TVs now. Does it make that much of a difference on a computer monitor?
It can, yeah, especially if you're watching HDR content or playing games that support it. Basically, it expands the range of colors and brightness that the monitor can display, which makes things look more realistic and immersive. You'll notice details in dark areas that you might not have seen before, and highlights will be much brighter and more impactful.
Okay, so you've got this huge curved screen, incredible resolution, super fast refresh rate, and HDR. What else is there to love about the G9?
Well, there are a few more things, like it's got AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, which syncs the refresh rate of the monitor with your AMD graphics card. So if you've got a compatible AMD GPU, you can pretty much kiss screen tearing and stuttering goodbye.
So no more choppy visuals. Everything should be nice and smooth.
Exactly.
Okay, and for the streamers and the YouTubers out there, does this have anything that makes it good for content creation?
Definitely. It has picture-by-picture, so you can split the screen and view two different sources at the same time, like having two monitors but with no bezel in the middle. And picture-in-picture lets you have a smaller window overlaid on top of your main screen.
So like having a reference image up while you're editing, or maybe keeping an eye on chat while you're streaming?
Exactly that. Plus, it has auto source switch plus IA, which automatically detects and switches to newly connected devices, which is pretty handy.
No more fumbling around with input settings. Nice.
And if you're going to be staring at this thing for hours, it has 2 certification for eye comfort, meaning it's supposed to reduce blue light emissions and screen flicker, which can help minimize eye strain.
So they've thought about the ergonomics too.
Yeah, they really tried to cover all the bases with this one. It even has those cool lighting features, Core Sync and Core Lighting plus Eye, that can add some ambiance to your setup.
And of course, it's height adjustable. You can swivel and tilt it, and it's VESA mount compatible if you want to get it off the desk and onto an arm. So it sounds pretty amazing on paper, but what's the catch?
Well, the catch is there have been some reports from users about the monitor's durability. Some people have had issues with it breaking down after only a few months of use.
Oh, wow. That's not good, especially for a monitor at this price point.
Yeah, not ideal. There have also been a few reports of quality control issues right out of the box, like stuck pixels or speakers that don't work.
So it sounds like maybe there is some potential reliability concerns with this model. Anything else that users have mentioned?
Yeah, a few things. One user mentioned that the monitor gets quite hot, probably because of the curved design, which might be something to think about depending on where you live and how warm your room gets. And obviously the size is a major consideration. You need a pretty big desk to fit this thing. Oh, and one more little thing. One person said that the rubber feet on the stand come off really easily.
Okay, so those are definitely things to be aware of. But what about the positive feedback? What are people who love the G9 saying about it?
Well, a lot of people are blown away by the picture quality. They rave about the color accuracy, the sharpness, the overall immersion you get from that huge curved screen. And they love the multitasking capabilities, how much you can fit on the screen at once.
So it sounds like if you can get past the potential reliability issues and the fact that it's basically a small TV sitting on your desk, the G9 can be a really fantastic monitor for both gaming and productivity.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Okay, so let's move on to the Odyssey Neo G7. It's a 43-inch 4K monitor, and it also seems to be aimed at both gamers and creators. What are the key specs and features of this one?
So the Neo G7 has a 4K UHD resolution, which is 3840 by 2160 pixels. It's got a 144 hertz refresh rate and a 1 meters response time, so it's still very fast and responsive. It uses quantum matrix technology with quantum mini LEDs, which is a fancy way of saying that it has really good backlighting that allows for precise control over brightness and contrast.
Quantum mini LEDs, that sounds familiar. Isn't that what Samsung uses in some of their high-end TVs?
Yes, exactly. And it's supposed to deliver really impressive picture quality. It also has VESA Display HDR600 certification, so it should be able to handle HDR content really well.
Okay, so it sounds like they're really pushing the visual quality with this one. What else does it have going for it?
Well, it's got a matte display, which is great for reducing glare, and it supports AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, just like the G9.
So no screen tearing or stuttering, assuming you have a compatible AMD graphics card.
Right. And here's where things get a little interesting. It also has some smart TV features built in.
Oh, really? So I could, like, watch Netflix on this thing without even needing to connect my computer?
Yep, you got it. It has built-in Wi-Fi, and you can access all the popular streaming services. It also has Samsung's Gaming Hub, which gives you access to cloud gaming services and lets you connect your consoles.
So it's trying to be an all-in-one entertainment hub? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely aiming for that. And it has a couple of other interesting features. There's Flex Move Screen, which lets you adjust the size of the screen image, so you can make it smaller if you want, like down to 20 inches, which might be useful for certain games or tasks.
That's pretty neat. So I could have a smaller window for a particular game and then go back to full screen for something else.
Exactly. And it also has ultra-wide game view, which lets you expand the aspect ratio to 21.9 for a wider field of view in certain games.
So you're basically getting more horizontal screen real estate. That could be really helpful for some games.
Yeah, definitely. And it has a game bar that gives you quick access to all sorts of settings, like your FPS counter, HDR settings, response time, and screen ratio, all without having to leave your game.
So it sounds like they've packed a lot of features into this monitor, but what about the user feedback? Have there been any issues reported?
Yeah, unfortunately there have. There have been quite a few reports of dead pixels and stuck pixels, which is never a good sign.
Ah, that's frustrating, especially with a new monitor.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you want to see. And there have even been some reports of the monitor completely failing after a short period of use, like as little as 10 minutes or as long as 4 months.
Wow, that's really concerning. That sounds like a major reliability issue.
Yeah, it definitely raises some red flags. And there have been some other strange reports too, like some people have mentioned seeing scan lines, which is weird because those are usually only a problem with much higher refresh rates than this monitor has.
So some potential image quality issues as well. Anything else?
Yeah, the brightness seems to be a bit inconsistent. Some people say the HDR looks great, but others have complained that the peak brightness isn't as high as advertised. And a few people have said that the backlighting sometimes dims unexpectedly.
So some potential quirks there that you might have to deal with. What about the smart TV features? Any complaints about those?
Yeah, some people have said that the smart TV interface is kind of slow and clunky.
So maybe not the best user experience if you're trying to use it as a streaming device.
Right. And one more thing, someone said that the base of the monitor is a bit wobbly, which might be annoying if you have a shaky desk.
Okay, so it sounds like there are definitely some potential downsides to the Neo G7, but what are people who like it saying?
Well, a lot of people are impressed with the picture quality. They say the colors are really vibrant and accurate, and the 4K resolution is incredibly sharp. They also appreciate the versatility of having the smart TV features built in.
So when it's working properly, it seems like it can be a really great monitor.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of potential.
Okay, so we've looked at both of these monitors in detail, the good and the bad. What's the bottom line? Which one would you recommend?
That's tough because they both have their pros and cons. I think it really depends on your priorities and what you're looking for in a monitor.
Okay, fair enough. So let's break it down. For the gamer who's all about immersion and wants the widest, most responsive display possible, what would you say?
If you're okay with the size and the potential durability issues, the G9 is probably the way to go. That 49-inch curved screen is just incredible for immersive gaming. And with the 240 hertz refresh rate and 1 meters response time, you're not going to find a more responsive gaming experience. Plus, it has all those extra features like picture-by-picture and picture-in-picture, which can be really useful for multitasking.
All right, so the G9 is for the hardcore gamer who wants the ultimate immersive experience, but maybe isn't as concerned about the potential reliability issues. What about someone who's looking for a balance between gaming and content creation?
The Neo G7 is a good option for that, especially if you want 4K resolution. The Quantum Mini LEDs deliver really great picture quality, and the Smart TV features are a nice bonus if you want to use it for streaming or watching movies. But, and this is a big but, you really have to be aware of those reliability issues that people have been reporting.
Yeah, those are pretty serious concerns.
They are. So if you're thinking about the Neo G7, I would definitely recommend doing some more research and reading user reviews carefully before you make a decision.
So it seems like both of these monitors have a lot to offer, but they also have some potential drawbacks.
Yeah, that's kind of the theme here. It's a shame because they both have so much potential, but those reliability issues are a real bummer.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider before you spend a lot of money on either of these monitors. Well, Sarah, thanks for breaking all of this down for us. This has been a really informative deep dive.
No problem. Hopefully this helps some people out there make a more informed decision.
And for everyone watching, if you want to learn more about these monitors or see the latest prices and deals, be sure to check out the links in the description below.
Yeah, and be sure to read those user reviews.
Definitely. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe to our channel, Tech Talk Central, for more tech insights. Thanks for watching.